Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar today on increasing business efficiency and working with inflation and using NITRO Studio, which is our program, as well as Office 365. Also, we have a governance tool we'll be showing you in order to improve business productivity, efficiency, and reduce costs. Now, we're just getting going. Krista just joined, and I'm going to have her share her screen and make her presenter. And we're going to show the slides and then get into the discussion. So thank you for joining. Give us like a minute or two to get settled in, and we'll be getting going with the show. And I think you'll find the information interesting and useful. Hopefully useful is what we try and provide here at Crow Canyon. Really useful information that is of value to organizations who are looking to deal with the issues that come with the new economic environment. I gotta log in here with, okay. Hold on. Okay, put the numbers in, go there. All right, now it's Krista. Krista, you there? I think you might be on mute.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, can you show your screen? Oh, you are, all right, you are, good. Okay, good. Great, thank you. So we're ready to go. There may be a few other people who trail in, but it's already past the hour, so we're going to get going on this here. So as I said, this webinar is about increasing business efficiency, combating inflation in 2023, or at least working with inflation. I don't know if you can really combat inflation. You can just have to deal with it. You can't beat it down. You just have to deal with it and make adjustments both in your organizational life and your personal life. So it's how to work with it, and it's about efficiency means also reducing costs and being more productive with what you have. All right, let's go to the next slides there. We'll keep this moving along here. So I just want to introduce what's going on here as far as this webinar. I'm Scott Restivo, the CEO of Crow Canyon Software. We're also also be joined by Jeff Priest in a moment. I think he might be just getting on board. Crow Canyon Software is based in California. We have offices around the US, also Australia. We have partners in Germany. We have offices in India and other places. We're grown into a worldwide company serving customers all over the world. It started about 24 years ago in 1999, so we've been through many iterations of software. We started out with Outlook Help Desk with our product on the Exchange Public Folders, and then migrated in the early 2000s to SharePoint. And we started building on SharePoint 2010, 2013, 2016, all the iterations as time went on. And now we're very heavily into Office 365 and Teams, keeping up with all the latest that Microsoft is putting out there. Certainly a fire hose of new technologies coming out with the OpenAI stuff and Teams, what they're doing with Teams and syntax and all that. And we're keeping right on top of it and moving our applications along to help organizations use these technologies as efficiently as they can and effectively as they can. We are on the GSA, the government schedule. We have Schedule 70. We're a preferred partner, always been for many, many years with Microsoft, and we're a California certified small business. We do a lot. We can do across many industries, but government has been a big one for us with federal, state, many states, local, city, counties, all that. We're also in manufacturing, healthcare, education, nonprofits. Just about any industry can use our software, and that's one of the beauty of Microsoft Office 365. It can apply to many people all over the world. We even find in Australia, some tribal Aborigine tribe out in the remote outback is using our software because there you have Office 365. And I was just surprised to see the extent of the range of this of Microsoft Office 365 and how useful our programs can be to organizations of all types all around the world, whether it's a large enterprise organization or a small group that's helping natives in a remote area of some country. So let's keep moving along here. So what we got, I got this 7 ways to cope with inflation came from a flyer I got from American Express. We do American Express credit cards, of course, along with Visa and MasterCard and all that. So they send me material every once in a while. So one recently was 7 ways to cope with inflation. And what struck me is that 4 of them are right spot on what we do here at Crow Canyon about cutting expenses when possible, what our software provides to organizations. be ready, getting you ready for new customers so you can onboard them and make sure they have success with your whatever you're doing. Now, customers could be citizens if you're government, members if you're a nonprofit. Streamline and automate processes and improve productivity. So those are really spot on, and saying, like, validation from not just American Express, but many investment groups and others, is this idea that dealing with inflation means improving productivity and streamlining and automating processes. And we'll talk about how to do that with our NITRO Studio and Office 365 in this. So we can move on here. Cutting costs. So I'll give you some figures, and then we'll get into something, more specifically about our NITRO applications. But we're just going to point out some numbers here that a lot of these surveys, a lot of the industry leaders, the thought leaders, always talk about automation as the top tactic to achieve cost automation. This means taking processes that are slow, clunky, outdated, and moving them into an automated scenario so that they can move along. The processes can be completed efficiently, quickly, with reduced time and reduced friction, and customers and employees are able to get what they need much more quickly through automation. And it also makes it available on any device, whether it's a mobile or a desktop. You're not limited to just having to go to the desktop to do these things. It's also mobile. So it's really, automation is really big. If you're using you go to the next slide, Kirsten. But if you're using outdated forms, you're using old processes, paper forms, spreadsheets, then you have a real need to move into automation as a way to reduce costs and increase efficiency. And with our NITRO Studio, that's exactly what we do here. Many, huge majority of businesses are performing repetitive and time-consuming tasks. These are some things that are ripe for automation. We get in the habits, all of us, even any organization gets in the habit, or we call institutional inertia, of going about the same thing the same way because we've always done it that way in the past. But moving out of that kind of rut, this is where inflation kind of kicks you in the butt a little and says, okay, now it's time to get more productive and not just, get off the inertia cycle and start to improve processes. So it's actually, in some ways, a good thing, I guess, and nobody can say inflation is necessarily good, but it's good in the sense that it does drive you towards seeing things more efficient and not keeping the same rut going. Next. So again, they're talking about automation. This was, I believe, from Forbes. Forbes, very well-known financial magazine and authority there, is that you can gain 10% of your profit. So if you're declining profitability, well, you can gain it back by putting automation in place that helps make you more profitable. It's pretty simple. I think there's only one more of these statistics slides, right, Krista? Are we almost there? Oh, this one was interesting. Look at this one. This one, Krista and I were both laughing about this one because it says, organizations will implement structured infrastructure automation. I thought, what a funny way to word things, structured infrastructure automation. So, look, we put another slide that says, what the heck is that? So this is where, we deal with this kind of digital transformation, business efficiency, productivity, and all these kind of wonky words over and over. And, frankly, I get tired of it because I've been around, many years, and it's like, yeah. So what do we actually do? What do we actually put in place to make this happen? What's the reality of what this means for you or your organization? And that's what Crow Canyon is about. Crow Canyon is about real solutions for real people. And what we do is not just, of course, these factors of digital transformation, business efficiency, productivity are there, but unless you implement it in some way, they're just theoretical kind of business school kind of talk. So we're down in the reality. We've been down there for 24 years, building real solutions that benefit real people here. So does the next slide show what we do, right? Oh, no, okay. So we'll get to what we do. So what we're saying about this is that the way to drive efficiency and productivity is reducing costs, streamlining operations. You lessen the burden on employees by making it easier for them to make requests and get those requests fulfilled. You get things done faster with less hassle, and you get greater customer satisfaction and repeat business. And these are all very important for keeping your business thriving during a time of slower economic and increase in inflation. And this is all things that you really have to pay a lot more attention to than you might have in the past. During the boom times, reduce costs. You don't think, well, okay, but you don't take it that seriously. And streamlining operations can wait. And you want to make it easy on your employees. In fact, you may have fewer employees even now because that may be one of the things that happen is you had to reduce staff, so you have to do more with less. I think that's Microsoft's thing: do more with less. These are things we looked at. What you must have in kind of when you go to automation, you want anytime, anywhere access on any device. So it's that gives freedom to be mobile, tablet, or desktop. You don't want to wait to have to get an email, go back to the office, get the approval done. You can do it right there on the phone or through Teams. We allow omni-channel access, either for submitting tickets or interacting with our programs. It could be email, it could be text, it could be portals, it could be Teams, it could be SharePoint, and any other way. We try and make it as much as possible for the end user and the technicians or employees who use our software or the staff members to get the work done in whatever suits them best. Some people may want to use Teams. Other people are used to email. Some people want to go to SharePoint. This is all inside of Office 365, by the way. You're using the common interface of 365 and Teams. That means that you don't have to switch from program to program, this SaaS solution, that SaaS solution. There's some marketing person was talking to us yesterday about point solutions or something. I think what she meant is that if you go to one place to get the work done, it's much easier than have to log into 4 or 5 different systems in order to get processes done that are necessary. And it also has to be highly customizable to adapt to your needs. Every organization has specific requirements, and the software has to be adaptable to that. Otherwise, you're doing things that you don't need to do in order to get your work done. We can go on. Okay, so this is what Crocan software does. We're the group here, we focus on this day and night. We created the NITRO Studio. NITRO Studio is a forms and workflow platform that runs in Office 365, also in SharePoint on premises, whether it's 2013, 16, 19, or SE. This provides whoever implements the NITRO Studio the ability to build any kind of solution they need on their environment. It could be replacing InfoPath forms or access forms, Lotus Notes. It could be replacing a paper process or spreadsheets, an email process. Requests going to email don't really work because what happens is they get lost in the inbox of everybody. Nobody knows who's doing what with that. So replacing it with the forms and workflows built using NITRO Studio is a very efficient way to increase your productivity, efficiency, just make things much easier for everybody, like we talked before about reducing costs, streamlining operations. What we've done also at NITRO Studio is built our own applications. Oh, you can go back to the other slide for just a minute there, Krista. Just the previous one. We'll get to this in one more. Okay, there we go. Good, thanks. What we've also done with NITRO Studio is we built a number of applications that are common business functions. You'll see that that's the slide that Krista went there. We'll go there in a minute. But these applications are providing real functionality to people across the world and getting things done. Now, to make that distinction a little clearer, you can get an out-of-the-box application built on NITRO Studio, ready to go, like a help desk, a purchase system, contract management, asset management, because these are pretty much standard across the business type applications. You can also get our NITRO Studio and then build your own solutions. We have many people, many organizations out there who have maybe 50 different forms they have to automate. A lot of it's government does that, or larger companies, sometimes insurance or manufacturing, quality control kind of thing. They have all these forms they have to automate, and they want to get off of paper, or maybe they're using a legacy solution like InfoPath. So our solution gives them the ability to build the forms to look like and act like they want. Again, they show up on mobile, desktop, tablet, and then the workflows and custom actions, the printing capabilities, the reporting capabilities, and all the other features that we have in NITRO Studio make it very powerful way to build your own solutions. So it's sort of like build your own or get our out-of-the-box applications. Either way works. You can do both, a combination of both. Some applications can fit what you have already. The NITRO Studio can be used for places where you have to build your own, or you have your own idiosyncratic forms and workflows you want to automate. The other thing we got into recently through our partner that we have is Microsoft and Teams Governance. A lot of people who are using our applications in the Microsoft 365 world came to us and said, well, what about governance? What about reducing costs and keeping control of licensing and users, user access and those kind of things? And we'll show you some of that once we a little bit later in this webinar. We also have the NITRO Engage bot, which is a bot that runs inside of Teams and makes it very easy to implement solutions on Teams, such as a purchase request system that can be just purchase requests can be made in the Teams bot, in the NITRO Engage bot in Teams. The approval can be made by the manager, and then you can go to a Teams channel. I mean, it's all these things in Teams, because people, if you're using Teams, then this would be a good way to engage with that. And NITRO Engage would be a good way to use Teams to make your systems and your operations more productive. It's an interesting thing, and we can talk to you about that. Now, go to the applications. Now you'll see on the camera, we now have our NITRO Help Desk t-shirts. See, both Krista and I, and we have these. And we're coming out with NITRO Help Desk display, updated version. We've had Help Desk for over 20 years, but every once in a while it's good to refresh it, add new features, expand on the capabilities, and make it more adapt to the modern world. More Teams interactivity, use a knowledge base, SLA, improving on SLAs. So we have those NITRO Help Desk coming out, and we'll be glad to show you a demo. In fact, a demo of any of these applications, one-on-one, if you're interested to talk about your specific needs. All these are in use at organizations around the world, and it's quite fun to see an organization take our programs and replace some older program or process, or even sometimes they replace enterprise solutions that are overkill and cost too much. And that's another factor during these times of inflation. Say, do we really need a Lamborghini to drive to the store or something, like, to use an analogy? So do you really need that overkill application with too many features? Can you just go with a simpler one that's just as effective and just as useful within your organization? So we have a help desk. We also have asset management, because the help desk and asset management go together. Some people use asset management by itself. Most people, though, are using help desk and asset management together. You're also project manager. We have work orders, equipment tracking, purchasing program, contract management, a quest manager that can be adapted for many purposes. We have a data sync tool too. So many things we can do to help your organization be more efficient and productive. Let's look at some of these in more detail right now and see how they actually have applied to some organizations. So we're looking at various implementations. So here's a purchase request system. What we find, and when people come to us and want purchasing, they usually have there's several avenues they take. One is they are using email, and it just gets lost in the email, and the request isn't fulfilled because somebody forgot to check the email or didn't answer or thought somebody else answered it, things like that. Other people are using paper forms, and paper forms are very hard to track. Where's the form, who has it, and it's on someone's desk, it's sitting there, and how long it sat there, and is the person on vacation? All these kind of factors come into play, and that's not going to work very well to have an efficient system on paper. The other thing we find is people have these, already ERP or procurement systems in place, and they find the interface to it is very clunky and hard to use. So what they do is want to have a simpler interface in the place that people work, which is more and more Teams and Office 365. So they want an interface in there, use our program to go through the approval process, a very quick, efficient way to do it, and then have the output of, once it's approved, assuming it is approved, go to the people who do the actual procurement, and that way take the burden off the need to interact with that more complex system, and have the approval processes tracked, audited, and done in the environment that people are used to working in, which is Office 365 and Teams. So it streamlines purchasing. The automatic approval process is really interesting, because in our system you can have all these different ways of doing your approvals. It can be by the amount, the location, the department. It goes through multiple levels of approval. It can be based on many factors. It could be a serial, parallel approvals. It could be if one person, a group of 3, if one person approves it, that's an approval, or all 3 have to approve it. Any kind of approval situation you set up can be done, and that makes it clear that this was approved. You can also, as a manager, you can check budgets and inventory to make sure that there's money for this, or there isn't something sitting in inventory that could be utilized for this purchase. You don't have to go out and buy a new desktop. There's one sitting there somewhere already. And all this kind of stuff makes the whole operations much more efficient, because you're not buying stuff you don't need. You get better management of purchases and costs. Also, you can track what was, audit what was spent, how it was spent, whether it was useful. If you put an order out there with various line items, the line items as they come in, you can see like, oh, this first line item came in, but we're waiting on the second one, and the order. I mean, you can imagine it's just much more efficient this way. And you can use Teams and to help. Now, if you want, you don't have to, but if you want to use Teams to help to be an interface for the end users, like I said, with the NITRO Engage bot, they can create a purchase request, they can approve a purchase request, they can check the status of a purchase request. It all makes it very time-saving, very efficient, quicker turnaround. And we've had many organizations use this successfully in that way, replacing outdated legacy processes and finding a much better way to manage purchase requests. Doesn't mean they have to replace their whole procurement system. It just means that they have a better way of interfacing with the end users who are making the requests and the managers who have to approve it. So that's one example of how these systems, various programs we have improved operations and reduced extraneous costs that aren't needed. All right, contract as opposed to extraneous costs that are needed. I get a little bit of word salad there. Anyway, okay, so contract and license subscription management. This has proven to be quite an interesting subject, because a lot of people are renewing contracts just, whatever. They don't even know they're doing it. They just auto-renew. They're on auto-renew. And what happens is they'll keep renewing contracts and licenses and not know about it or not know what's upcoming. And, very, very efficient, very inefficient to do it that way. What we do is with the contracts or licenses come up for renewal, there's expiration date, there's a responsible party or parties, and they are informed that this will come up and how much it is, and do they approve it or not approve it. And then things just don't happen automatically. And we've seen, we've actually implemented this program quite successfully, and we've seen many other organizations do this, where they're able to say, wow, we didn't renew that, $20,000 contract, or even $5,000, even $500 contract, dollar contract. It's all money out the window. And in times of inflation, and you want to be much more sensitive to getting those costs down and bringing things under control. And sometimes it's just, I don't know, little like things that maybe marketing's using, or IT program. These have a sneaky way of renewing all the time. I don't know if you ever noticed, but these things that you do, it's like, if somebody comes back later and says, anybody ever using that? Is that something that we need? And nobody knows. But with this subscription management, everything is clear, who's responsible, where department's being used, when it renews. Is it through some kind of automatic credit card processing? Is it through some invoice? All those kind of factors. And then you can make real decisions that save time, save costs, and help your business run more efficiently. Great program. We found this simple program, but very, very useful to do that. And people say, why not just use a spreadsheet? Well, we don't want to use a spreadsheet because you don't have the way of tracking it and sending out these workflows that are, say, manager, do you approve, a responsible person, do you approve this, and going through and tracking like that, and have the audit trail in the same way you do with a system like ours. Okay, let's look at the next one. I hope these are being interesting to people, these various ways that, like I say, real solutions for real people, for real organizations. We're talking a bit, what was that structured infrastructure, structure? That was such a gobbledygook. So I mean, it's I don't know. Somebody wrote that for some reason. Maybe ChatGPT wrote it, Krista. Who knows, right? Who knows what that came from? But
yeah,
anyway,
that's probably the culprit there.
you gotta blame somebody. Yeah, that was really a word method. All right, so help desk, obviously, this not saying too much on this help desk because I think it's so obvious to people that having a help desk to track problems and issues and get them resolved quickly is critically important. We are moving more and more into this more automated solutions where we're really starting to hit that edge where if you have a knowledge base and you have some way of getting a response, the user getting a response very quickly, there's no need for this inefficiency of create a ticket, wait for the a technician to respond, have this back and forth, trying to make it so that the help desk is a way that people can end users can use it in a way where they get answers expeditiously, not just have to wait back and forth. We call it the double time problem, the double time problem there, where you have the staff member has to put in the ticket, the other person has to respond, the technician has to respond, and so there's this, double time cost going on there, and trying to reduce that. So that's one way. Another way is just if a help desk is easy for people to use, to enter in tickets, to get the requests they need, to get their back working is basically what they want to do. And maybe they need a new system, or they need an upgrade, or they need training, or there's some hardware or software problem that they have to deal with. All those get identified and fixed. You can take, if it's a system, you can take system fix, you can take it to a change control and have a rollback. So, I think a help desk is pretty obvious. We just want to throw it out there because we have so much experience with NITRO Help Desk and our, starting with our Outlook Help Desk, SharePoint Help Desk, NITRO Help Desk. We've been doing this for so many years, and it's just a great product, a great way to control costs and keep your employees working and going. It's pretty obvious. So I won't belabor that, but the next one is about asset management. And this is something that over the years I found really interesting. A lot of people, frankly, don't track their assets very well. A lot of people come to us and they have spreadsheets. Some people don't even know really what they have. I don't know. It's like they got some rough idea, of course, but it's not in any kind of organized system that would be trackable. And it's, maybe it's okay for some of that, kind of sloppiness around the edges when the times are booming. But during inflation times, or when economic turndowns happen, it's time to be quite a bit more efficient and conscious of what is being spent. Here's an example. If you don't know who your laptop's assigned to, and the person leaves the company and takes the laptop with them, well, it's $1,000 or I don't know, whatever the laptop costs, usually around $1,000 walking out the door. And you may try to get it back, but it could be even little things like a cell phone or some other, maybe you got some special device that you use at your organization. But the point is, you want to know, when a person's terminated, to recover that. The other thing is about, regardless of termination, even when they're using it during their normal working life, maybe they switch jobs and they need different equipment and have to return the old equipment. The other thing is you want to order a new equipment, but you already have it in stock in your inventory. Another factor is maintaining your assets so that they are well kept and don't need to buy it and they last longer. This is all practical advice that anybody would agree is a good idea. But the problem is we don't find many companies implement it. It's quite interesting. I think it's one of these afterthoughts. I hope your organization, people on the webinar, have thought about this in a way, and maybe you have a very efficient system and I congratulate you if you do. But my experience, because one thing running a software company, I've talked to, I tried to estimate tens of thousands of organizations over the 24 years. And so I think I got some perspective on that. And that's that a lot of organizations, frankly, don't track their assets very well. And it always surprises me to go even large organizations to have, kind of the sloppiness around the edges of things being lost or inefficiently maintained or buying things they don't need and things like that. And so I think asset management is a real case where there's opportunity for almost immediate ROI on it. So anyway, any of the applications that we've been talking about in this webinar, we can do a one-on-one demo, talk to you about your situation. And we pretty much promoting Office 365 and Teams. But again, we do have these applications running on SharePoint on premises also, if you happen to be in that environment. So now getting off applications, moving into NITRO Studio, I wanted to give a brief introduction. Now, this is something that is very useful for organizations looking to get off paper forms or legacy solutions like Access or InfoPath or Lotus Note. Anybody still using Lotus Notes? I don't know. Some government agencies are, believe it or not, but most people aren't by now. But still, it's a way to build solutions that really work really well. Now, this NITRO Studio could be a whole webinar in and of itself, and I think that that could be something that that would be very useful for people who are interested in citizen development and in just being creative. And I think the thing is like this. I always say it's like this, and I don't know if it's a good analogy. I don't know. Sometimes when around lunchtime, I'm always thinking about food, but but that's what it's 11 something here in California where I am. Lunchtime soon. But the point is, it's like either this. You go down to the store, you buy a whole bunch of ingredients, and you cook your own food, like a soup or something, or whatever. Make your own tomato sauce or something. That's kind of like NITRO Studio is. You're getting all the ingredients and you're building your own solution. It's got your own flavors in it, your own needs in it, your own particular what's necessary for that particular solution in there. It gives you a lot of creativity and a lot of capability. Whereas our application is like going to the restaurant and ordering from the menu. So you order a help desk, you order a work order, you order an asset management program, not literally, but you know what I mean? And then you get it fully developed at that point. There's the meal, there's the soup. Now you can add a little salt, you can add a little pepper, maybe ketchup or something. So therefore, that's what our application can be customized around the edges in that same sense of the word, fit to your organization, your particular needs or your particular taste, but you're not building it from scratch. Whereas NITRO Studio, you're building it using, that we have the form designer, the next slide. Yeah, this is a simple example of it. If we went into this to show you the full power, this is a form. This isn't even the form designer. This is just the form. Full power of NITRO Studio. Anyone interested, we'd be glad to do a one-on-one demo or go have another. We do have a lot of webinars online about it, but we'd be glad to talk to you individually about it. And if you're of that sort of mindset that you want to build stuff, people find this really fun and creative, and I do too. I like building stuff like that. We have a workflow designer in the NITRO Studio, that you come in and design how the workflow should be. You can really do some complex implementations of really automate a lot of workflows and make your business run a lot more efficiently by putting these things together. Again, we're not going too deep into this. It's just some kind of gift that shows some of the capabilities. What's next? I don't want to belabor this too much because really to show NITRO Studio would be to go into a whole webinar in and of itself. And it's a very powerful tool. If you have a need for this, let's talk. Let's get something going. I do want to spend some time on governance in this webinar. So what we'll do here is, is there more on NITRO Studio here? Oh, we have the NITRO Engage bot for Teams, right? Here's where you can do various commands, set up these commands, the user, this is part of NITRO Studio. And what the beauty of this is you're in Teams, but what we put in the NITRO bot is business process automation, so that when you using our bot, it isn't just a question and answer bot, it's actually a business process automation bot in the sense that it will institute workflows. So like I said, I'll use that purchasing example again and again. It's that the user comes in and says, I want to make a purchase request. The form comes up, the person fills it out. It goes to the back end purchasing, the purchasing application in SharePoint. And then all the processes that run as part of that new purchase request take place, and somebody's notified. Maybe the manager gets a notice that he or she has to approve something, and it goes through the process. And this whole thing is like interaction between the SharePoint and the Teams, So it's a business process automation. So the manager maybe get a notice in Teams that there's a new purchase request to approve. The manager approves it. It goes up to the next manager, or maybe goes right back to the requester, and the requester gets a notice in Teams, as well as it could be email or whatever. So this whole automation thing's going on to make it really easy for these processes to take place. And that's what NITRO Studio puts in place, and the Engage bot, if you want to use it, is useful for that. Very useful tool. It depends on how into Teams your organization is. If you are, this is a great way to do it. If you're new to it, you can introduce this as time goes on, and you get the main application with person, work orders, asset management, help desk in place, and then the bot can be added on later. It can be kind of modular in that way. But I just want to bring that up, that we're doing a lot with that. So, okay, so now we're getting off the NITRO Studio applications, the NITRO Studio itself, and talking about a different thing altogether, which is governance. As I said before in this webinar, we have a partner, Rencor, in Germany, and we're representing them here, doing some white labeling in the US about this Rencor solution of governance. We found it a very useful tool. We've known the people for years, and we just started working more and more closely together to provide this governance tool to organizations, or any organization. And it just seems, because people have been asking us about this, they've been saying, what can we do about governance in Office 365? How can we control costs? How can we avoid app sprawl? How can we improve security? How can we stay compliant? People during the COVID time, started about 3 years ago, the first year or so, they all rushed to Office 365 and remote work and kind of dove right in head first into Office 365, what they call M365 now. But at that time it was Office 365. And now, okay, great, we got it going. Now what? Maybe they got a bunch of licenses they didn't need. They put up Teams that kind of came and went. Teams are SharePoint sites. They created some flows that are costing money and the business doesn't even know about. There's openings to outside vendors that they allowed that they haven't closed, or somebody left the company and the security's on. All this is something that is thought about after. We just heard about a company called us up and said about governance, and they said, oh, our one of our admin accounts got hacked. And like, did you have MFA on it and multi-factor authentication? They're like, no. So with this governance tool, it will identify security holes like that says, look, you've got admin accounts without MFA on it. At least you know about it. If you don't want to fix it, I don't know, but at least you're going to know about it and not get like, it's always like after something happens, you lock the barn after the door leaves. Lock the barn door after the horse is already left, right?
Scott, hey, do you mind if I jump in on that real quick? So,
there's Jeff. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Hey guys, just yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up with regards to that particular situation was a major impact to their business. So they used this site to do demos. They used this site to engage with their customers. And they were down for a number of days, 3 or 4 days, which impacted their business and their ability to sell. So, I mean, these are real things that governance, this tool, can identify quickly. And not to mention, as M365 compared to, what people were using before going to this new solution, is that, there were a bunch of what we'll call point solutions. People had various things, solutions doing various functions. And now, there's this move to consolidate within the M365 world. And when you're doing that, it means it's much more complex. It's not just Exchange as a mail server anymore, or SharePoint as a standalone on-prem server that's managed by, somebody or a group of people. But this is now an entire ecosystem of things that people are doing. And there's real implications to the business when those things go unmanaged. And so that was a real pain moment for this company that called up and realized that they didn't have multi-factor authentication, got hacked. And
simple thing, Jeff. Really, I mean,
Yeah, pretty simple thing to identify with the governance tool, but you only know what you know, and there's a lot to uncover and discover where a tool can help identify these things very quickly and get immediate benefit.
Yeah, I can show some of that. There's another slide I think you have, Krista, and then what we want to talk about here is there's a, we offer a free trial and health check so that, you get the trial in play. There's really no installation. It's just signing up. And then the tool will look at your tenant, your Office 365, Microsoft 365 tenant, give you some quick results as to what's going on. Let me show the tool. I'm going to go to my screen and show the tool. And we actually have a demo here. I'll make myself presenter. Which screen I'm going to show.
And real quick on that same note of doing that sort of free initial assessment, I mean, this is something that literally takes minutes. to get provision, to get set up, to connect to your network, depending on how big your network, how much data is. I mean, it might take some time to run a little bit, but we're talking like an immediate feedback as to what your environment looks like, and where are some opportunities to, to at least to where you can get some action items out of it. But I mean, immediate, like, so within a single phone call, we could be in there looking at all this data and seeing what, what the picture shows us.
Do you see my screen, Krista?
Yeah.
you
Optimizing Microsoft 365. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and but I was going to say to anybody on the webinar, just, send us an email to sales@croquet.com and we'll send you this PDF about optimizing your costs. It goes through a whole thing about assessing the value of Microsoft 365 and how to use it optimally. Where are we? It's actually a pretty good guide on how things are duplicate licenses, all these spiral, unused, all this stuff. But I'm going to show you the actual program itself. This is the governance tool. You can see here it's got a whole really nice interface telling you about how well you're doing as far as compliance and security and how many external users you have. This is demo environment, so it's set up with certain information about decluttering, about external access. So and here's an important thing about cost, things that are near storage limit or things that are in violation of certain thresholds you've set up, how things are operating. So a lot going on there. There's reports, there's inventory. I think one of the cool things is checks, where you're setting up these. It comes with a set of checks by itself that are kind of standard, but there's also ones you can set up to be how you want. And then as time goes on, these checks, if the checks are violated, there's too much exchange use or storage limits are running out or licenses you don't need or all this information here. And then you could enact this automation that will send notices. And we have it now sending notices to our NITRO help desk. So that's why we're, good coordination between what they're doing and what we're doing, is that when a violation is recognized, it can become a ticket in the help desk, and then it becomes an actionable item that you have to, you can fix, and then have an audit trail of who fixed it when, how it was fixed, who did it, what was done. And if it involves change control, because sometimes it might, then you can always have a rollback scenario for that. So I don't know, for me, it's like a no-brainer to get like a trial of this and see what your systems, when we did it for our, this is a demo, but we did it for our real Croquet system, we found a lot of things that we didn't even realize. And we're deep into the Microsoft 365 business, but there were things being shared externally that, it's, oh yeah, that person, we don't need that, situation anymore. Or it can even be something as simple as like, hey, do we really need business standard licenses, or do we need business basic for these people? Because there's a price difference of about, I think it's $12.50 versus $6. So, if you save some money. Now, as I remember, Krista, when we're talking to our friends at Rencor, they were saying like one company installed this and saved $80,000 in like the first few months. I mean, that was the real figure. Yeah, that's what they gave. So
also in addition to this, I mean, it's all the compliance, security, cost savings piece, but also it's just, look, as users are encouraged to use this system, right? Being an M365, they're creating a lot of things. And when somebody, employees come and go, when you're onboarding someone, when you're offboarding someone, how do you know what one employee, all the things that they've done in your M365 environment, and how do you go and either hand that off to somebody else to take responsibility, or how do you shut it down? It's really difficult to go and find every single thing that an ex-employee touched or that they might be assigned out to them. But within the tool, the governance tool, you can do that when you're offboarding somebody. Like what flows have been created, what apps, what folders do they have, that are assigned to them, and then go and make that part of your offboarding process. So there's so many different things that this can be utilized from an operations perspective, from a financial perspective, et cetera. And that's, we've only touched on a few things. It goes much deeper than that even.
Yeah, we can do a demo of this by itself with anyone and go deep into like the dashboard, the reporting, also the customizability of it and how you can set up your own checks and have it, how automation. So it really becomes, I mean, you get a lot of checks right out of the box, which is good. But when you get, you have the ability also to create your own if you have some particular need you want to you know, particular thing you want to monitor. Now, what's interesting here, I think, about the whole thing is that the licensing. You know, I always say, it's not even a joke, really. Why do we need to give Microsoft more money? They have enough, right? They don't need more money, believe me.
They're doing all right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, we maybe all have stock in it. We want to, in Microsoft, we want to see their stock go up. But then again, we don't want to give them money that we could, you know. So we don't need to make them any richer than they are. So controlling the cost is very important, especially in these, you know, what this webinar is about, is controlling controlling costs, because you're operating in a different economic environment, which we don't know, of course, what's going to happen, if it's going to just kind of even out, or it's going to take a dive, or who knows. But even if it was a good times, and this is the thing people don't realize, even in good times, you want to be controlling costs and make sure. I mean, that's really the time to gear up and get ready for the harder times. If you haven't done that already, well, it's not too late to, you know, close that barn door. The horses are still in. I haven't all left. So, you know, using a tool like the governance is great for that. Also, the business process automation we bring with our NITRO applications, like we're talking about the purchasing, the contract and subscription management, the help desk, the asset management. Those are just examples of many implementations that we've had of this. Of our applications providing real benefits and cost savings, as well as our NITRO Studio, building your own forms and workflows, and making your own soup, so to speak, you know, to get rid of old legacy problems. And we're pretty, I think the next, okay, first I'm going to tell you about Crocan Software's website. You can contact us here. You can also send an email to sales@crocan.com. We have a lot of information about all our applications on our site, different solutions, different industries, companies we work with. Did you want to show a few case studies, Krista? I could switch it back to you.
Yeah, that would be great.
We're really just trying to make the case here that there are real benefits that real organizations are that we're bringing to real organizations. None of this structured infrastructure, structure automation, or whatever. I don't know, what did it say?
Yeah.
Structured interface. I don't know. Anyway, real
It's not
solutions for real
human.
people here at Crocan. So this was AFS, the American Field Services. They had some onboarding that was using Excel spreadsheets and Outlook tasks. They couldn't track really well new and departing new employees coming on, or employees, you know, departing employees. The missed tasks, delayed response, security issues. It was just slow, and they, like I said, some of the assets were walking out the door. Some security holes were left in place that should have been plugged when the person left. Sometimes new people came on board and didn't get what they needed. So it was really an inefficient process, and having that solution really helped them operate more efficiently. They used NITRO Studio to build forms, workflows, reports, as well as not only for onboarding, for other purposes. And using the SharePoint sites and the lists, they were able to really optimize their situation, not only onboarding, but in many other areas also. So, nobody has to read all that stuff. I'm kind of summarizing it. So let's go to the next one. We'll do a few quick examples. Another one is the Spokane Health District. That's up in Washington State. And they came under, well, enormous pressure, as it says here, when COVID-19 hit in the spring 3 years ago, and they're charged with, maintaining the public health services for the 400,000 people in the city and county of Spokane. They had to find some way. So they've used our NITRO Studio. It's an Office 365 GCC, which is the government cloud. It's, we work in the GCC and the GCC High, as well as the conventional commercial Office 365. For them, it was the GCC. We do a lot of government work in the GCC, whether it's the state, a lot in the state of California, but Arizona, Virginia, all over, New York, I mean, every state practically. So they took it on their own to build their own. They took it on their, somebody blender going? No. They took it on their own to use NITRO Studio to build business process automation solutions. It's a wonky word, but what they were actually doing, like doing something to help a request or manage an intake of a patient, or onboard somebody, or get equipment managed, all the specific tasks they need to do at the health district. They were able to automate many functions, reduce costs, operate more effectively. And also the other factor that came into place is the remote workforce. That was a big factor during COVID. So it really helped them to use Teams and SharePoint to our applications help them able to operate as a unit, even though they were no longer all together in the office. So I think there's one more, and right, oh, Hanu, yeah, people in Hawaii, and they just took on to NITRO Studio quite well, because they were using InfoPath and SharePoint Designer, SharePoint workflows, and they just needed to get rid of all those. They're a business services company in Hawaii, on Oahu, and I think they serve the other islands too. And they were able to really help organize, really help modernize, I guess is a better word, modernize their operations in order to, by using NITRO Studio and getting off legacy programs, getting off SharePoint workflows, the 2013 workflows and InfoPath, everything that's been outdated and deprecated by Microsoft. And they're able to have a lot of creativity and build their own forms, build their own solutions, and they can take and run with it. And have done a lot of great work over there to make their business run more efficiently. And then have more time to go to the beach and go surfing, I guess is the point there in Hawaii, right? So I don't know if that's the case, but I certainly hope so. Anyway, it gives me an excuse to go there and visit them, right? Why not? It's a business trip to go see how you're doing. So anyway, we also have somebody in the Bahamas, Jeff. We got to go see them too.
Yeah.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think what's the next slide, Chris? I think we might be near the end of it. Yeah, content about sales. So just realize that Crow Canyon, it really thoroughly enjoys talking to, all of us here enjoy talking to anybody about their situation, about their needs, about their requirements. It makes our lives fun and exciting to hear how we can help you organize your operations, your business, whether it's a commercial, not-profit business, or whether it's government or nonprofit or educational. We're here to help. We're here to help you make your operations more efficiently using the Microsoft 365 or SharePoint stack and Microsoft Teams. And we'll also be coming out with some new things that, using the OpenAI, maybe some things with Syntax, Viva. We're keeping track of all that and see how we can bring those technologies and the usefulness of them to your organization so that you can combat inflation, reduce costs, be more effective, and implement structured automation infrastructure, whatever the heck that was, right, Chris? All right, so we'll be at some shows in Las Vegas in May. We have another show in DC in June. We have some shows in Chicago in the fall. So we are making the rounds once again. But meanwhile, contact us. It says right there, sales@crowcanyon.com. Call right now, 1-800. No, not really, but you are here to help.
Scott, real quick to kind of wrapping up here. One of the common, I guess, the feedback I get from our sales team is, when somebody calls up and asks for a demo, once we engage in that conversation and kind of get down the path of understanding, what someone's trying to accomplish and what the tool is able to provide in terms of a solution to those business requirements, they said almost every time, we just hired a couple of new sales guys as well, and they've been shadowing these calls. They said almost every time the light bulb, is lit up. People get excited about what they're seeing. Our main value proposition here is to help to take a lot of these manual or paper-based or spreadsheet-based business processes that happen in every organization. Even our organization, we find that sometimes we fall into that trap. But to take those, streamline them, make them more efficient, drive cost savings, to take some of the the human work, the actual sort of manpower we need to do some of these things, take that out. And people get really excited about not just what they can accomplish with one sort of business requirement, but this is scalable. There's so much more that can be done with our NITRO Studio application, as well as the governance thing. That is a trend right now that I see is huge in all the conversations of people worrying about those things. So our value proposition is to help save you time and money, which sounds very cliche, but that's what we do. So I would encourage anybody on this call or anyone that is listening to this video in the future is that you contact us. I guarantee it won't be a waste of your time. We'll get in there. We'll jump into sort of real solutions based on your real business requirements. And I think at that point you'll be pleasantly surprised that our tool can add value to your organization. So that's the sales pitch at the end. But I believe it.
Thanks, Jeff.
And seeing that, yeah. So.
All right, I think we're good. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and we appreciate you spending some time with us. And hopefully this has been useful and valuable, and maybe give you some ideas of using one of our either our NITRO Studio, our applications, the governance, and we hope to hear from you. But thanks again. Thank you, Krista and Jeff, for participating, and everybody have a good day.